did his known be known, and as a result of that he had a good conversation with Colin and with Andrew Horder about open spaces and how they have used and utilised open spaces in the past to create something new. And what Mark was saying, and I think Colin as well, is that quite often in bee collaboration we focus on the bee, not so much on the do and the have. So what they've decided between them is to have an open space in a bee collaboration meeting in London, which will be in September. So pop that in your diaries. I would like every single member to be there if possible, because that's an opportunity for everybody to create something amazing. And Colin has agreed, out of the three of them, to present that to us today, so you get a taster of what's coming up, a taster of what's possible, how it works, and the reasoning behind it. And then from then on, the next few months, we're going to start promoting it, so that the September London meeting is going to be awesome. So on that note, I shall hand you over to Colin Newlyn. Thank you very much.
These original slides on okay, right. So I was standing in this bar, having a chat, as you do, with Andrew and Mark. And we were saying, you know, it's great this bee collaboration, isn't it? You come along, you meet some nice people, you know, you stand in the bar and talk about stuff, and rather than gently move away like people normally do when you talk about this stuff, they have conversations with you, which is quite good. But we said it's like, that's great, and we all get to know each other, but we're not actually, like, what are we doing? Because if you look at this is out of the Quest. So this is sort of a statement of what bee collaboration is about, and I highlighted the things in red because that's what we're supposed to be doing, but we're not actually doing much at the moment. So, I mean, Beijing did his on one of the events, which bee collaborations, you know, helped out in that. Quest itself is you know, collaboration, but that's really about promoting bee. What are we doing? Because this stuff is, you know, surely we should be doing more of that. So that's really what we're going to try and do with this meeting, is start a process so that we can actually start doing more. But I'll come to that a bit later, because, you know, we all agreed, actually, we've all been around lots of meetings and heard lots of people talk about collaboration, but not seen very much of it. And probably because we might all mean something different when we talk about collaboration. So this is my take on what collaboration means. You can disagree with it if you wish. But there's lots of things that are called collaboration that aren't really collaboration. So mutual exchange, this is like the BNI stuff, you know. This is, I give you a lead, you give me a lead back. It's very transactional, very much, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's very good, but that's not collaboration. Sometimes they get a bit more sophisticated, you know, like so I help you because you help her and then she helps me, you know, power circle type things, but it's still very transactional. People say they're collaborating because, you know, like, well, you work for me sometimes, and sometimes I work for you to do things on projects. Working as associates, working in teams, that's great, but it's not collaboration, because, you know, if I'm working for you, it's your customer, you've got a power relationship, you're controlling everything, and I'm just really providing my services. And then we have things like cooperation, where there's a mutual benefit. So you might have people come together in buying groups, or one of my favourite cooperations was a guy called Tom Ball used to get a bunch of companies together and they all chip in, and rather than having separate Christmas parties, they had one huge Christmas party between the lot of them. They had one at the Hippodrome in London. It was pretty awesome. But that was a cooperation, because they would have all had Christmas parties anyway. And there's a few other things like joint ventures. Sometimes people think that's collaboration, but that's really a very specific relationship that's been put in place to achieve something. For me, collaboration is what I said there. So it's people coming together to do something, one thing that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So it's not something where people were doing something, or thinking of doing something anyway. I was thinking of doing that, why don't we do it together? To something that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And that seems to me, that's the real power that we could unleash from bee collaboration. Anybody disagree with that? Or do you also like it? Good. And there's a few things that you need for collaboration. So there's quite a few shared things there. You might recognise some of these because I think they're in the book at the front there. Values, visions, goals and stuff like that. But for me the most important thing here is what makes, because quite a lot of situations you might have some of these or all of them, but you really need high levels of trust, because without that people talk about stuff but they never actually get going because they don't commit to it, they don't know if they can really trust the other person. And that's not to say that we don't trust ourselves in each other in the collaboration, but you need a high level of trust to get on and start doing things. So in a way the question isn't about how do we make more collaboration happen, it's how do we build more trust. And the way we do that is by doing stuff together. Okay? And you trust people you hang around with, don't you? Go out and do stuff with. You trust people. If you go out with people regularly, you trust them to turn up on time, or maybe trust them to be 15 minutes late, which is when I normally get there. But my friends know that, so that's okay. So so we have the context, which is the collaboration, but now we need to take some action. So we have the be. Now it's time to do. And so that was basically our conversation. So how do we make this happen? And what we've come up with is what we're calling, what I'm calling at the moment, it may change, but the current working title is the Opportunities Workshop, and that's what we're going to do in September. And it's basically we're going to take the whole meeting. So this is all we're going to do in the meeting. And the point of it is to have this exercise to create some ideas that we can work on and that people can coalesce around in teams and start to take forward. And we want to have projects that we can do that will have a quick impact. Okay, so again, this is to do with relative levels of trust. So if we all commit to do something that we're going to do for the next 3 or 6 months, then you don't need as high a level of trust to do that as something that's, like make a change that's going to come about in 5 years' time. And we're going to use this thing called open space to run it, which I'll go on and talk about in a minute. So we'll see what happens, because this is an experiment, because we don't know if it's going to work or not, but we think it will. And if it does work, if we do generate projects, then obviously we repeat it. It's something we do on a regular basis. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. So you might have heard, anybody heard of open space at all? 1 or 2? Yeah, good. You might have heard unconference. So this is an idea of a way of doing things that's not structured, because you're dealing with a really complex problem with lots of different inputs. You're trying to be creative. And if you have a structure, it completely stifles it. So the idea is that the people who turn along decide what goes on in the meeting. So one of the things we're going to do in a minute is have a talk about what you need to bring along and how you can get involved in the meeting to make some stuff happen. And it's self-organising, which Ken has talked about before. That's one of the sort of principles behind big collaboration. This is a way of using self-organisation to have a conversation, to generate some stuff and make it happen. And it's pretty simple. It's based on, so there are 5 guiding principles and 1 rule. So basically, we're going to turn up, and you start off with doing some pitches about some ideas, and then we form into teams and have conversations. So these are the principles. Basically, it's what's meant to be is meant to be. Okay, we're not trying to second guess anything here. We're just going to see what happens in the room and what comes out of it and the right thing. And you have the rule of 2 feet. So basically there'll be probably, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 different little groups. You will join the one that you think is in an area you're interested in or something you can contribute to. And if during the course of that conversation you think, actually I'm not learning anything here, I'm not contributing anything here, you go somewhere else to see where you can join in. So it's very fluid, right? Nobody's going to think worse of you because you walk off after 5 minutes. It's just recognising that you need to go where you think your talents can best be applied. And so, what do you need to bring? So I think most of these are actually necessary for bee collaboration. Open mind, curiosity, sense of humour, obviously. But the main thing is we want is people to come along with ideas or contributions around where they would like to see some impact happen. So that's really what we want you to think about in the run up to this. So there's lots of ways you can do this. So we don't want people to necessarily come with fully formed ideas, right? Because how long had you been thinking about wannabe?
Before I execute it?
Yeah. How many?
2 months.
2 months? Really?
From the point of conception, coming up with a possibility of the event, and actually happening, it was 2-3 months.
But how about having an impact in that area? How long would you be thinking about that?
No. But not at that scale.
No.
Not at that scale.
But you've been thinking about it for years, really, didn't you?
In terms of absolutely, yeah.
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 Yeah. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
Is that so fully formed idea? Right, it took you 2 months to come up with that bit, but actually the start of it was years.
Massively. Yeah. The seeds were there, and it was a question of something happened in my life that gave me an access of thinking to believe that scale was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't want people to come along necessarily with fully formed ideas. You want to come along with the spark. Okay, so what is it, where would you like to see us make a difference? What is it that's going on, in your life, in your experience, in what you can see that really, really annoys you and you think, well, we should be doing something like that? Is there an area that you know a bunch of people in that's not, things aren't working well and you think, we should make a contribution to these people, we should be able to do something to impact that? That's the sort of thing that we want you to come along with.
Two things strike me is one that you mentioned trust. The subtle difference between trust and mutual trust, which I think could be evident.
Right.
And the second thing is a massive difference between an open mind and egoless. Because if ego's not removed from this, it won't happen. Because say the 2 feet thing, if the person who's supposedly coordinating, facilitating that takes offence because someone moves away, that's ego presence. That needs to be can't be present for it to work.
Yes. Yeah. So I've seen that happen in open space meetings. So people who come from a corporate background who are very structured, they're bringing their ego in, and they can't, they don't last very long.
I've seen that happen. I mean, what happens if you're running a thing, people walk out, and you feel hurt, you just have to get over it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
There's a kind of fluidity in human processes. It's
That's
quite
right.
nice.
Sign of a closed one is someone who says you've got an open one. I'm not.
It's the same as the man saying, I'm not showing this club.
Absolutely.
So, any initial thoughts, feedback? Does it sound?
Is it going to take up the no be known or the whole meeting?
Yeah. So basically we'll do two rounds in essence. So what happens at the beginning is whoever's got something they want to have a conversation around, right? So maybe you've got something that really annoys you, or you've got an idea. You stand up and make a pitch. So this is what I want to talk about. When everyone's done their pitch, then we allocate places for them to go, and whoever wants to go and join in that conversation, that discussion goes over there. And then at the end of that, they'll record what gets talked about, what gets decided, if any suggestions about what needs to happen next comes up. And then we'll have a break, and then we'll do the same thing again.
How the outcome's going to be managed?
Well, we'll share what.
Realised, not managed, but spiritual reality.
Well, it depends on what stage they get to, really. I think. I mean, to some degree, if if something's come up and enough people rally around it, then it's up to them to decide how they take it forward. And it may be that they need to do some more further discussions and further work.
Have you been a part of a process like this before in another context, another domain, in this open and agenda?
I've been involved in open space events.
What happens then at the end? What's the like what Scott's saying?
Well, so for each of the discussions, a record is made of what was discussed and what came up, and any actions that came out of it. It's then really a team has to form around that idea to take it forward. Otherwise, it doesn't go forward.
Can you give me? I'm sorry to sound a bit thick, but can you give me some examples of ideas or possible suggestions somebody would come into the room with to say, I want to address this?
So something like, I don't know, maybe there's something going on in your local community that you would like to see an action taken about.
Such as?
Maybe there's nothing for the kids to do on a Saturday afternoon, and you think that there should be somewhere for them to go.
Okay.
That sort of thing. And maybe there's something in the local hospital that's not happening that you think there could be a volunteer effort to get in there that needs organising.
What would be an example? Because I mean, in some ways, you can have a community, but we're much more virtual community, or we're scattered all over the place. So, have you any ideas of what sort of projects, for instance, you guys have thought about it? What are the projects you would like to see come out of it, for instance?
No. Short answer to that. I mean, that's the point.
This is your project, is to do this. I mean, that would be an example.
Yeah.
Is that the three of you said we're passionate about this. We can see open spaces could really offer something. The community keeps saying that we want some shared projects. Well, this is a process of facilitating those shared projects emerging.
Yeah. So I guess rather than having discussions in the bar, we're trying to find a way of making sure we have regular discussions where we can chuck ideas about and generate ideas, because we didn't feel that enough of that was happening at the moment.
So can I clarify, I mean, what could come out of this is the cultivation of some kind of working groups around some coalition of some kind of project?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Can I ask something? So Tarek and Tarek has been more expressing an interest recently about creating a YouTube channel to educate and to share knowledge around more esoteric understandings that you wouldn't normally get at school and you wouldn't normally get in the mainstream. And we've been quite passionate about that. And one of the reasons I think Tarek is here today is he's got 5 kids, obviously. Got loads of free time. No, we were talking about it, weren't we, Tarek? Yeah. And so Tarek's got this idea we could create this channel for children and young people. I don't know how far you've taken that thinking, but that could be something that Tarek could bring and say, look, this is something that I've got an idea for, but I haven't got it kicked off. I don't know enough about it. Is anyone else interested in this kind of subject? And I think that would be the kind of thing I would think would be a good idea. Is there anything you'd add to that, Tarek?
No, it's right. It's the sort of thing we can do there. As I go from what you've said. As I said, I've got this idea, but I don't know who to turn to, who to start with. At the moment, it's just an idea. It's in inception, and with the right connections and the right people and the right know-how, I think it could be a huge success. Not to mention just educate the children.
Yeah.
Instead of what's going on at the moment in schools.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people who are interested in education. So what could we, maybe I did have, thought, if this works, we could do one just on education. We could do one just on ecology, recycling, if that's how it goes.
Can you go back to that slide where you got the 4, the mutual and the collaboration?
I don't know, it depends on what grassroots technology.
A bit further back than I thought.
Yeah.
So I really agree with that definition of collaboration in terms of outcome. My question is can that happen through a conventional way of having an agenda, KPIs, set project, allocation of tasks? Or do you believe that can only happen if you have it in a way where it's the unstructured, open space type scenario?
What was that?
Left brain versus right brain type mentality.
For example,
I
if
think,
say the YouTube channel, a conventional way, okay, YouTube channel, right, let's decide on the content, who's the audience, right, who's going to record the videos, where do we upload it, what's the marketing involved to try and get the audience, and you need allocation of tasks and experts and all that. So,
You need the structure, wouldn't you?
yeah, you need, but what
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
but that example there doesn't that encourages no structure.
But that's execution.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you look
This
at
is idea generation.
yeah. So if you look at like stuff around how businesses are started and created, or whatever, you have a search phase and an execution phase. And the search phase is where you're trying to find your products and trying to find your market, and you're looping around. And that's the bit that most people do most companies do really badly, because what we're really good at is, oh yeah, we know what we're going to do, now we're going to make it happen. Right, and this is all about the search bit. This is about coming up with ideas. We don't know what ideas can come up. So you might put that idea in, it might spark off half a dozen other things that actually might get to where you thought you were trying to get better, and other people can contribute to, and so that's a great sort of idea to come in and have a conversation about.
It's like a think tank almost, isn't it? It's like it's trying to get everyone to bring their ideas that they might have been thinking about on their own, have a space to bring it to go, guys, I've been thinking about this, what does everyone else think? And then if that idea resonates with other people, then that germinates into a project. And some won't, because they're, for whatever reason, it may not be that it's a bad idea, but there's just not the people in the room at that particular point that resonate with it. Or it's too early, or it's too late, or da-da-da. But the idea generation concept, and then, not every single one is going to turn into a fully fledged project.
And it doesn't particularly have to be profit.
So we're here to try and, well, I thought, but one of the reasons we're here is to try and have, change the world in a positive way.
Yeah.
So this is like taking baby steps. So if we got 2 or 3 projects in the next 6 months, created something that wasn't there before, that had a positive impact in the world, that would be a great start.
Yeah. I think having people scattered around in different areas is probably a bonus. Yeah. Because then, if you did come up with something that would help a community, then it would help different communities, because it's not just one state.
Can I add to, I think what you're getting at as well is not just the project and the outcome, but the practice of collaboration.
Yes.
Right, so it almost doesn't, I'm not saying it doesn't matter what it is, because I imagine whatever we would pick as a group or whatever, it would be something worthwhile, make a difference. But the fact is, as adults, we're putting ourselves in this space where that together we create an outcome that we could never have done on our own, and sit back and go, that was a collaboration. Yeah. So people are getting a real experience within B collaboration, creating projects, whether profit or not profit, whether children or adults or wherever they are, as an expression, an exercise, an experiment in what it is to collaborate.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much?
Yes. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Do you see this kind of as a bit like the essence of B collaboration?
Yeah.
The idea, if this works there, it could be something that that gets introduced to these meetings as a section of this, because this is the perfect forum for us to have a conversation about a new idea and to see.
And going back to the self-organising nature, the thing is, Jill and I are kind of in this position, and with the accomplices, by the way, guests, our accomplices are the people that run other groups. We just think that's a funny name and we like it. But the idea is we don't want to be directive in it. So this is a 3 collaborators talking about we could do more than we are, come together, requested space in the meeting, and instigated an outcome that isn't driven by, if you like, the people that kind of administer the organisation. This is actually an organic expression of wanting to create a self-organising project to develop our skills and make a difference. And I think that's what's so special about it, rather than me and Jill coming on going, right everyone, we're going to do a project, we're going to do a YouTube channel to make a difference to kids, who wants to play? It isn't that, it's actually total opposite of that.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like it, Charles, to kind of well, not why I like, but why I think it's an expression of the community, not the organising principles of the community. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also, it's, you know, we could do this and find that actually, you know, no projects come up and get taken forward, but maybe it will spark conversations and understandings and you know, awareness that will lead to something a bit further down the track. Because the things that have come up that I've been aware of while in BCOL have been, you know, like Angela's idea about the self-building home thing, which was like she didn't really want to say, no, I've got this sort of, you know, and it sort of popped out into the conversation. And we're just trying to find if this is an environment to make that happen, you know, more frequently.
I mean, with your point about what we bring to it, it seems to be more, the more that we think about, this is something I really care about and I want some support for.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity to get some feedback, to to see what who actually wants to do this in collaboration, not just talk about being collaborators, but to actually do it.
Yeah.
So but so the more that we think before, say this is what I really care about, and bring that to it, the more valuable it will be.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great focus. Yeah.
Colin, should it be around new ideas coming up in their space, or could it be around projects already happening? How we can impact them to make them better and different?
Yeah. Are you thinking about something around the cafe?
No, I was actually thinking about one. Yeah, someone that's already doing something that's made that initial couple of steps in.
That's perfectly positioned for several people to say, okay, what's an injection we need?
Hey, do you mind maybe, sorry, maybe come to the front and just give everyone a little insight to want to be?
He's very shy.
Because there's people here that don't know.
I think we should have a bit of chairs in a circle for this part of the conversation.
Even the people. That's funny.
It's not that popular.
It is funny. Actually, it's what's funny.
I'll give a bit of background about me when I do my genius lot by the camera.
Because he's shy.
So, Want to Be an Entrepreneur is an event that I've been running for the last 4 years. It's a big extravaganza. We've got about 200 sixth formers and young adults there. And it's all about getting them the insight of this sort of mindset in education. You know, they're taught about subject English, maths, science, but it's the thinking process, and that was conceived. I was on Landmark Education, and this was my Landmark project. And the idea was how you create a project to impact a community. And my idea was teaching entrepreneurial skills to 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds outside of a school. So I hired a hotel, got 8, 9, 10 speakers, there was a day, big music, extravaganza, and filled the hall with 200 students. And we've done it 4 times. Ercan's spoken to every year about support for collaboration. And yeah, we've just had one in March this year, and it's every year. So the concept that it was conceived at Landmark in terms of its execution, a lot of collaborators have supported that. My vision is to take that all around the country, but there's only one of me. So Scott, what I think Scott is saying is that, okay, we're in your country, to put the event on is very easy for me. What I need is just local people to engage with schools. But the actual event itself is fairly straightforward to put on. But that was the concept of Want to Be. So, you know, the stuff that you heard, like you said, Darren, you know all this, right? But you didn't learn it at school. Imagine the impact that this was a normal thought process in school. That's the vision, and I've got a platform which I'll talk about later, which is all around that.
So when you do your show, your talk, what is there after for kids to engage into? Because if they come for a one-day session, what is there to keep them in that mindset?
Well, when I first did it, that was the thing, is the infrastructure. It's like what's available is only one of me. And I had partners involved, but the problem you've also got is the school. The school are releasing kids and allowing things, so there was a whole thing there, but I haven't got the infrastructure in place at the moment to offer the after and post care. It's all planned out. We know what we can offer pre and post. So it's all there, and it's a question of, in this context, you could say, okay, that's the spark of it, this is it, and you might say, actually, the way we could do this is this.
You see, this would be a perfect example. I mean, that would be what would happen on the day, wouldn't it? Be a group would be having exactly this sort of conversation. We're really passionate about it, and it would move it on.
Yeah. If there's no accountability, the problem is when you walk out that door, that Matthew does it. I don't have to chase him for that phone call. I'm just picking you because I just saw him. That's the issue. And my issue is every wannabe I've had to chase people who said they would do something.
That's where the mutual trust is.
That's the massively, because I guarantee you, not because you don't want to, because you're busy. You've got stuff going on. You know, you're on the motorway. Chris, you're not going to do it. No. Because there's nothing in it for you.
You need to concentrate. So
you're not, and none of you are going to do it because there's nothing in it to you. It's not about the financial gain. That's where I think collaboration at a level, that's where the ego thing has to go, really. Because at that door, if it requires me to, yeah, did you contact that head teacher?
Yeah, but there's a difference between, I said I'd do that thing for Beijing.
No, but even one of yeah.
To saying, yeah, I did commit to do that because I really wanted that to happen.
Well, I'll give you an example of...
It's an ownership thing.
I just launched my platform, and Jill's the only contributor here, but I launched the platform 7 weeks ago, and I've got 30 people contributing content to my platform because they want to. Now, Jill will tell you why, but I must have presented something that they thought, oh, I can get, this is what I can get from it. There's no financial gain. There's no, they can't use that content anywhere else. So there's a seed of that there.
That's not quite a collaboration, that's more cooperation.
Well, if you look at the bigger picture, it is. How that defined, because there's an interest for them to do it. It's not them to provide me content so I can grow my business. There is a thing, so that's why it sort of slips in.
So you're going to say you're unrealistic, saying open space doesn't change people's nature.
No.
You know, I mean, our nature is our nature.
Exactly.
How we actually support each other so it's not just the leader who is following it up, but actually it's the whole team that creates the support.
Yeah. So
and in some ways, if it's a shared project by everyone, there's much more chance that people will act on it.
The other term you got here, go down, where is it? You've got shared leadership. And that's the first one I looked at that, and I panic. I panic because I think...
But the difference between what you were saying and what Colin's saying is that actually if somebody wasn't going to commit to something, like you said, they can get up and walk off and maybe find something that they felt they really wanted to.
Yes, if they're ego-less. And even their ego might think, do you know what, I want to show I can. And I've seen goodwill in a room.
Well, I suppose it's just one of those things you've got to see what happens. And live in hope that, there are.
Let's get to the point where something fails, rather than where we are at the moment, where nothing's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You have to allow that to fail.
And this event, I'm sure some of you will find it uncomfortable initially, and you'll find it disconcerting because it's different. But then, so most of these meetings, they should be used to that.
Can I just ask, is Beiju and Tarek's projects combined? Are they connected in some way?
No.
Because it sounds like a YouTube channel that follows up the learning and the entrepreneurship, teaching entrepreneurism to children is exactly what you're referring to.
Mine was just simply like, just because of my children, they just watch YouTube.
Yeah.
All day, and an example, they're sitting there watching the telly and they're like hypnotised. They're literally stuck. They're standing still. They can't move. An advert comes on and then boom, they're awake and they're bouncing around. And they don't watch YouTube, but they're just being educated by complete crap that's not doing them any good. They're just being conditioned to consume, work, go to school, and die. Spend money. So I want to open where my eyes have been open to how consumerism works and everything else. I want to do it to them at a young age, as opposed to me happening to me at 30 years old. So for them to actually bring up and actually appreciate life isn't just about going to work and going to school and going home. It's about life, it's about family. It's not just about money, consuming and wanting and everything else. But I'd like to do that, but there's nothing out there that's based for kids. So there's things like Anonymous and things like that for adults, but there's nothing at all for anybody under 18.
It's a bit like TED Talks, but specific to...
But to make it, I don't know, make it in like an entertaining way, have cartoons, have children presenting it maybe, like even my kids would present it. They love videoing themselves and things like that, and it's just making it for them to watch. And I think it's spread like wildfire. And I think there's a lot of like-minded people like myself who are exposed to what's going on. They can't do anything about it, but want to open other people's eyes. There's, like I said, with the children. Because to be honest, I'm fucked if I could say that. But
I don't know, can you
my
say-
kids, that's the only thing that worries me. It's just my children. They need to open their eyes.
So where do you take your children now? If you're that worried about your kids, what do you do with your children on an evening, you know, the weekend?
Well, we don't. They still watch telly.
But you should perhaps maybe think of taking, you know, some responsibility of your children and inviting them to other things, because there's loads of like children's meditation groups, for example.
Yep, they've done that.
And how?
They like it. My girls haven't done it. My boys have done that.
Yeah.
There was a meditation class in Hertford. We do that. We live on a farm, so I try and get them out as much as possible. They're not.
So you shouldn't be worried too much then, because you sound like you're really worried.
Yeah, I'm not really. I know what's coming. I'm not paranoid about it or anything, but I just want to expose them to what's actually going on.
So that would be. So if that was your thing you wanted to talk about, right? So how can I get this sort? How can we do something to get this sort of information in front of kids?
Yeah.
Right. You've got an idea for a YouTube channel, but if there was a conversation around that, there'd be loads of other ideas, and then you can boil them down. So, and because we want one that we could do in, what could we do in 3 months that would show actually there's something here that would take it forward. That would be the focus of the conversation. And then whoever was interested in that, whoever felt that they.
So have the avenues to go there.
Have the conversation, because there'd be loads of, you don't know who's in the room, you don't know. People here would get involved in the conversation and would not know what they've got to contribute until they actually said it as well. So it's just about getting everybody to open up and see what happens.
So what needs to happen between now and then? Because I think we're almost out of time in this session. What do you want from us? I mean, it's a great idea.
Always put it in your diary. I encourage other people.
What's the date? Do you want to put the date up on the flip chart?
Yeah, I did have it on.
It's 20th September.
One thing I'd like to add to this, having done some open space, it is a bit chaotic. People that are used to hierarchical kind of projects will find it a bit decentering, and you need a lot of geographical space. You're going to need a lot of rooms. You can't do it in one space. That's my experience of that. Because for people
you've got. It's noisy.
Well, you're going to have more than one space where people walk from one space to another.
That's you can do it. You can use corners of rooms and things. You have to have separate rooms.
With these type of people, it's going to get right noisy.
Well, we've got quite a bit of space. We've got quite a bit of space.
There's quite a bit of space there.
People spread out. It's a big restaurant.
But that'll be part. And again, this is part of the learning. So if it proves a problem, then and it was worth doing again, we'd have to find another venue. I think it's doable what we've got.
Can I just go and say Tarek said about I'm F, like I can't make the difference, but you are. That's the whole point of this. One major part of this community is that we do make the things happen that we want to make happen. So imagine 3 years' time, there's a YouTube channel called, Wake Up Kids or whatever you want to call it, and there's 2 million people following, and it's self-creating content, children educating children, adults supporting it, whatever it is. That starts, in introduction I show a picture of a sperm and an egg. The reason I say is that's where these things start. It's what are we doing individually, then collectively to execute them and deliver them. Like Wannabe, I promise you, even though there was a desire to make, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paige, there's a desire to make a difference, especially to young people, then a project becomes into your consciousness. Then if you take no action, we wouldn't be talking about the 5th Wannabe. Somewhere online, Beiju made it happen because he put himself on the line, he got other people involved, he got their buy-in and created this event. So it starts off with that initial thought and desire, and then look at how quickly do we sell out on those things, or how quickly do we make them happen. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity. Tuesday, 26th of September.
Yeah, come along because we're going to have idea 6. Okay.
That could attract the wrong crowd.
On that note, I think that's a nice way to end it. Thank you very much.